first town disappeared from the map in 1949. Not the people, not the buildings, not the roads, just the town. One morning, every official survey sheet in Kansas showed nothing but forest where Bellwether had stood for 73 years. But the strangest part was this. The people inside Bellwether were still alive, at least for a while. Mail continued to arrive. Telephone operators still received calls. A school principal reported 93 children present on Monday morning. A pastor requested new hymn books, and a woman named Evelyn Marr mailed a letter to her sister in Wichita. The envelope was stamped. The handwriting was verified. The paper was real. But the postal route printed on it had not existed for 11 years. The letter contained only one sentence. Please tell them we are still here. 3 days later, Bellwether vanished from memory. No one in nearby counties remembered visiting it. Road signs disappeared. Land deeds rewrote themselves in courthouse drawers. Families forgot relatives. Veterans forgot where they were born. And when investigators arrived, they found only a narrow black survey line drawn across the newest federal map. It passed directly through the center of where Bellwether had been. The line had no label, no coordinates, no survey stamp. Only 2 words written in red pencil: MERIDIAN BLACK. The Black Archive first became aware of the anomaly in the winter of 1962, when a civilian cartographer noticed a pattern no one wanted to acknowledge. Across the central United States, small towns were disappearing from official maps. Not all at once, not loudly, one every few years. A mining settlement in Colorado, a river town in Nebraska, a railroad stop in Oklahoma, a farming village in South Dakota. Each deletion followed the same sequence. First, the town vanished from newly printed maps. Then road signs aged overnight, as if decades of rain and wind had passed in 6 hours. Then census files became unreadable. Then photographs blurred. Then birth certificates changed. And finally, the people outside the town forgot it had ever existed. But inside the missing towns, life continued, for days, sometimes weeks. In one case, almost 4 years. This was not a printing error. It was not relocation. It was not censorship. Something was moving across the country. Something thin, something straight, something old enough to ignore borders. The first classified report called it a geographic deletion event. The Black Archive called it something else, a correction. Meridian Black did not simply erase towns. It corrected the world into a version where those towns had never been built. The most disturbing evidence came from older maps. Under ultraviolet light, vanished town names were still visible beneath the ink, but not as labels, as scars, black smudges, tiny wounds in the paper. Cartographers who handled the maps too long reported nosebleeds, missing hours, and dreams of roads leading into wheat fields beneath a moonless sky. One surveyor, Harold Vance, wrote in his final field journal, "The towns are not being erased because they are unimportant. They are being erased because they were mistakes." 6 days later, Vance vanished while searching for Bellwether. His vehicle was found idling beside an empty road. The engine was cold. The tires were packed with black soil not native to Kansas. On the passenger seat was a folded state map. Every town along Meridian Black had been crossed out by hand, except one, Mercy Falls. There was no Mercy Falls on any map. There had never been a Mercy Falls in Kansas. But in Vance's glove compartment, investigators found a photograph, a town square, a white courthouse, children beside a parade float, a church bell frozen mid-swing, and behind them, stretching across the horizon, a vertical black seam in the sky. Not smoke, not clouds, a seam. as if the world had been folded there badly. The photograph was dated June 18, 1971, 3 months in the future. By the early 1970s, the government had built a containment office beneath an abandoned airfield outside Topeka. Its official title was the Federal Boundary Reconciliation Program. Its unofficial name was the Map Room. It employed surveyors, psychologists, linguists, priests, mathematicians, and one former funeral director. Their job was simple: track every town near Meridian Black, watch for signs of deletion, evacuate residents before reality forgot them, and burn every map that updated too early. But Meridian Black did not behave like a normal line. It drifted, sometimes by 4 feet, sometimes by 30 miles. Sometimes it appeared in multiple states on the same morning, and sometimes it curved around towns, as if deciding whether they deserved to remain. One recovered memo described it as geography with intent. Another said, "The line is not moving across the land is moving across the line." That distinction changed everything. If the line was stationary, then Meridian Black was not an event. It was a boundary. Something Earth had been rotating through for centuries without realizing what it was crossing. Ancient maps spoke of a black path where villages lost their names. Spanish expedition journals described a dead longitude where compasses spun and guides refused to continue. Railroad workers in 1888 reported seeing a town on the horizon that vanished whenever they approached it. But the oldest reference came from a cracked clay tablet recovered near the Missouri River. One phrase appeared 16 times: "The line that remembers first." The Black Archive interpretation was terrifying. Meridian Black was not erasing towns because they crossed it. It was remembering that they should not exist. The world we know may not be the first version of history. There may have been earlier maps, earlier nations, earlier borders, earlier civilizations built in places reality later rejected. And Meridian Black may be the mechanism that removes the leftovers, the places that do not belong to the current arrangement of Earth. In 1976, the answer arrived by radio. At 3:17 in the morning, every emergency frequency in 6 counties began broadcasting the same woman's voice. Calm, exhausted, repeating through static. "This is Mercy Falls. We are requesting recognition." The broadcast lasted 9 minutes. Operators received hundreds of calls from people claiming to live in Mercy Falls. At first, they described ordinary problems: flooded basements, missing dogs, a school board meeting, a power outage near the grain elevator. Then the details became wrong. A man said the sun had not risen in 11 days. A nurse said newborns were being delivered with birthmarks shaped like state borders. A gas station owner said every road out of town now circled back to Main Street. Then the final caller gave her name: Evelyn Marr, the same woman who had written the Bellwether letter in 1949. She should have been 71 years old. Her voice sounded 30. She said, "You have to stop printing maps without us." Then the broadcast died. The next morning, Mercy Falls appeared on 3 county maps. Not as a town, as a blank square. No roads entered it, no roads left it. But along the border, analysts found tiny black text repeating one phrase: population pending. The map room authorized an expedition: 7 vehicles, 19 personnel, 2 priests, 1 cartographer trained to draw from memory. They approached Mercy Falls on June 22, 1976. Their radios failed 5 miles out. Compasses inverted. Birds vanished from the sky. The road ahead turned smooth and black, though no asphalt had been laid there. At mile marker 117, the convoy found a wooden sign with fresh paint. Welcome to Mercy Falls. Below it, someone had carved a warning. Do not let them count you. The footage has never been released. Only the audio transcript survived. At first, the team described a quiet town, empty storefronts, curtains moving behind windows, a courthouse clock frozen at 3:17. No people, no animals, no insects. Then they reached the square and found the maps. Thousands of them, pinned to trees, spread across sidewalks, stuffed into mailboxes. Maps of America, maps of Europe, maps of continents that do not exist. Maps showing oceans where cities should be. Every map had towns crossed out in black ink. Bellwether, Mercy Falls, New Canaan, Cold Ash, Bone Junction, Cathedral Station, and one map showed the entire planet divided by black lines. Not one meridian black. Thousands. A net. A cage? A system. Cartographer Elise Rourke, the only expedition member whose body was ever recovered, said one sentence before her recorder failed. These are not maps of where towns are. These are maps of where towns are allowed to be remembered. Then came 7 minutes of static. Footsteps, a church bell, and someone whispering, "We are on the wrong side of the paper." At 4:02 p.m., all 7 vehicles reappeared outside Topeka. Only one body was inside. Elise Rourke had aged nearly 80 years. Her hair was white. Her fingers were stained with cartographic ink. Her eyes were burned black around the pupils. She was holding a child's school atlas from 1953. On page 17, someone had drawn Mercy Falls in perfect detail. Street by street, house by house, grave by grave. Beneath the town name, in a child's handwriting, were the words, "They found a place for us." Elise died 6 hours later. During autopsy, doctors found fine black lines running across her bones like survey marks. Her skeleton had been mapped. After Mercy Falls, the government changed strategy. No more expeditions, no more evacuations, no more public road closures. Instead, the map room began quietly removing towns before Meridian Black reached them. A reservoir project here, a highway expansion there, an economic development zone, flood the valley, buy the farms, relocate the families, burn the records. Do it before the line notices. Because the line did notice. In 1983, a town called Juniper Holt refused relocation. Population 612. The residents had received letters from themselves, not warnings, instructions, where to store food, which windows to board, which names never to speak. At sunset on October 9th, every road sign within 30 miles changed. They all pointed toward Juniper Holt. Drivers reported seeing the same black pickup truck every 6 miles, parked on the shoulder, empty, engine running. At midnight, the town disappeared from all maps. But this time, the people outside remembered. They remembered the diner, the school, the mayor, the Christmas parade. They remembered because the town wanted witnesses. For 13 nights, televisions in nearby homes showed black and white footage of Juniper Holt's town square. Empty at first, then slowly filling with people. Not residents, strangers, children in dust-covered school uniforms. Soldiers with obsolete rifles. Women carrying baskets of black fruit. Men wearing survey chains around their necks. At the center stood the missing residents of Juniper Holt, alive and silent. On the 13th night, Mayor Daniel Saye held up a map of the United States. Most of the country was gone. The center had been replaced by a black inland sea. Mayor Saye said, "We are not disappearing." Then thousands of voices behind him answered, "You are." The next morning, every viewer forgot the footage except one boy, Caleb Ives. He was 8 years old. He drew what he remembered in crayon: a black sea, a town floating on it, a road made of bones, and above it a symbol no one had shown him: an antlered circle. The same symbol later found on sealed black archive crates beneath the Vatican, in Soviet polar stations, and inside the ruins of Cathedral Station. Caleb grew up obsessed with vanished towns. He became a surveyor, then a cartographer, then a whistleblower. In 2011, he leaked thousands of map-room documents, most corrupted within hours. Names vanished while being read. Coordinates rearranged themselves. Scanned maps turned black. But one briefing survived. Its title was "MERIDIAN BLACK is not a line." The file claimed the anomaly was part of a buried global infrastructure older than recorded civilization. A system designed to regulate which human settlements could remain anchored to history. Every city, town, road, nation, and border required recognition, not by governments, by the structure underneath reality. When settlements formed in forbidden zones, the system corrected them. First from maps, then from documents, then from memory, then from time. But the final page contained a warning. The corrections were accelerating. Between 1949 and 1980, 12 towns disappeared. Between 1980 and 2037. Between 2000 and 2010, 114. Most were small, rural, already half forgotten, but the final projection stated that by 2035, Meridian Black would reach a city with more than 1 million people. The city name was redacted. In one damaged photocopy, only 3 letters remained visible: CHI. Caleb Ives vanished 3 days after the leak. His apartment was found intact, dinner still warm, a wall covered in maps, and on the floor, a freshly painted black line running from his bedroom door to his kitchen window. Not ink, not paint. A shadow with depth. At the end of it sat a folded note in Evelyn Marr's handwriting. "Tell the archive we are not lost. We are stored." Since then, Black Archive researchers have identified at least 29 active Meridian Black zones around the world. Some governments reroute highways, some classify valleys as protected land, some flood towns under reservoirs and call it progress. But every so often, a vanished town returns on a school atlas, a tourist brochure, a GPS screenshot, or a planning document. Bellwether, Mercy Falls, Juniper Holt, Cold Ash. Names printed in tiny black letters, roads leading into them, population numbers changing in real time. Then the maps update again, and the towns are gone. But not erased, never erased. Because somewhere beyond Meridian Black, there may be another country made entirely of places we failed to remember. Missing roads, orphaned churches, flooded schools, railway stations with no tracks, farms beneath black suns, children reciting addresses from towns official history denies. And every year that country grows. The final confirmed event occurred on March 12, 2024. A highway crew in Nebraska found a new town sign lying in a drainage ditch. The paint was wet. The name was unfamiliar: West Mercy. Population, 18,044. No such town exists. No records, no deeds, no census files. Attached to the back of the sign was a folded city map showing streets, hospitals, schools, power lines, and a courthouse. Inside the courthouse square, someone had drawn the antlered circle. Beside it was a message burned into the paper: "We have started printing our own maps." 3 days later, satellites captured a black vertical seam stretching across 12 miles of farmland. It lasted 9 seconds, long enough for one image. On one side were empty fields, on the other was a city. Towers, streetlights, smoke, traffic. Thousands of people looking up at the satellite. And painted across the roof of a massive archive building were 3 words large enough to read from orbit. Recognize us now. The image was classified within minutes. Every file was overwritten. Every official record says the satellite malfunctioned, but a copy reached the Black archive before deletion. And when analysts enhanced the image, they noticed a woman standing on the roof. Young, wearing a 1940s dress, looking directly into the sky. Evelyn Marr. In her hand was a map, not of Kansas, not of America, not even of Earth, a map of the archive itself. And one room was circled in black, the room where this footage was stored, the room where this file is being watched, the room we are in right now. So if this documentary ends suddenly, if the title changes, if the upload disappears, if you wake tomorrow remembering a town no one else can find, do not search for it on a map. Do not say its name out loud. And whatever you do, do not draw the road back. Because Meridian Black does not erase places. It waits for us to admit they were real. And once a town is recognized, it can recognize you back.